Hey guys, now I know you're used to my daily podcasts, but it just hasn't happened. And the reason why it hasn't happened is I've been overwhelmed. I've been overwhelmed because I've been to the UK, so I was preparing to go to the UK and then being in the UK and now coming home. And that's a whole lot of stuff to go on for anyone. With the things that happen when you're there as well, and the things that you come back to when you get back. As you can see, Batty is still smiling and he's feeling much better now. And while I've been away, I've managed to really sit with my grief and get to know it a whole lot better. And one thing that I did while I was away, I don't know if any of you've watched the Stephen Jenkinson podcast. I did with Carl Munson. Those of you who know me will know that I do a lot to talk about grief and death and dying and bring up the shit that we don't like to talk about straight up into the open and talk about it exactly how it should be, directly, honestly, authentically. And talking to Stephen Jenkinson really helped me. It inspired me more about bringing this subject of life and death, living and dying, grief, not just the grief that we get from death, but the losses that we incur in our lifetime, the losses that happen over and over and over and over a fucking again. It's like, seriously, we only get told in society grief happens when someone loses someone. Well, that's bullshit. That's bereavement, not grief. Grief is when we have lost something that we're emotionally attached to. I'm emotionally attached to Batty, my dog, for instance. And when I came back, he was really, really poorly and he had ticks all over him and fleas. And the poor thing, you know, even though I'd been treated for things like that to stop it as a preventative measure, it had happened to my best friend in the whole entire world. And I was grieving and I was thinking, is he going to go? Is he going to stay with us? Because it had triggered off his other stuff. And man, that was hard. It's hard to sit with your best friend in the world, whether it's a human or an animal, and know that they're suffering so much because of things, circumstances beyond your control. And that brought up more grief. They like to categorise grief and say that, oh, when you've had grief after grief after grief, it's cumulative grief. Well, that's bullshit too. How many humans do you know who haven't suffered more than one loss that they're dealing with in their life right now? How many people have not been, say, affected by the pandemic that they might call whatever they want to call it, but at the end of the day, it's grief. The amount of grief that we've got going on in society today because we've lost homes, we've lost jobs, we've lost friends, we've lost family, we've lost so much. So much. And we've lost it because of circumstances sometimes beyond our control. And sometimes it's just that life does occur like that, but it's still not something that we really have much control over. You know, we live in an impermanent world. There is nothing permanent in this world. Life is not permanent. The only thing permanent is change, you know, and there's the change in, yeah, we can generalise, we can say, well, it happened like this before, it can happen like this again, and therefore maybe it's going to happen like that again, but there's no fucking guarantees. There's no guarantees. It can change. Next time could be different. That's the truth of it. That's the truth of this impermanence, you know? And the amount of things that we go through that challenge us on every level of our being, whether we're birthing life into the world or watching it transition out. Huge changes. When we're creating, birthing new beautiful things onto the planet, whether it's a project, a business, a garden, some kind of vision, we're trying to birth it into the world. We get emotionally attached to what we'd like to achieve. We get emotionally attached to our intentions. We get emotionally attached to wanting to be spiritual or some great idea of what we think it should be. It's all bullshit. We're going to get emotionally attached to anything because the emotions are what keeps us safe. The emotions are what help us work out in our life what's good, what's not really so good, what's really uncomfortable, what's uncomfortable but really healthily uncomfortable, so it's challenging us in a really great way, so we're going to grow from this. Or it could be challenging us in the most horrific, scary fucking way that's driving us insane, that's making us feel like all hope is lost and our entire world's coming apart right before our eyes. And yet that change too. It can be good because we don't have the hindsight that we know after the event. So, you know, we can go through so much stresses in our life, so much changes that really kick us when we're down or take our feet from under us. We get hit with tsunamis of managing the losses of, you know, maybe a friend who we hang out with a lot and then they move away, or the work takes them so that they never see us anymore. Or maybe we're in somewhere that's really restrictive, like maybe a restrictive relationship or a restrictive job where we're not able to do what we were once used to. Then we grieve, and we grieve for what we had that was familiar. So I've decided that is my direction from now on, more so than anything else, because I love life, and I've sat with suicide, and I've sat with abuse, and I've sat with so many things that are absolutely fucking crazy, that it's just like, whoa. And I've got to this state of being now where I really am cool with where I'm at. I don't throw myself a pity party anymore. On occasion, maybe one sneaks in and I might throw a little pity party for myself for a minute or two. But I always acknowledge my feelings, and then they just have that space to ripple out and transmute into something else. I'm loving my life now. I never thought this was possible. I live my life with my animal friends on my own gaff, like my own home, my own land here in Portugal, where life to me is the biggest blessing that I ever thought possible. It wouldn't have ever happened if I'd have took my life, because I'd be wherever you go after you check out. So yeah, it's more important for me as the therapist that I am, and what I want to do and what I'd like to achieve in this world, to utilize what I've been through to help people see that they're not alone, to help people realize that this shit, this weight, this experience that they're living, that is all encompassing, it's fucking grief. You're grieving. There's not a human alive that isn't. babies are born into this world, and before they have anything else, they're subject to generational grief and community grief. That the babies, they're born into this world, and they've already got, even in the womb, they're subjected to the body's responses of the mother and the grief that she's already having. Once a baby is born and it's growing up, any time it senses loss, maybe at first it doesn't really impact it in such a way. But eventually, repetitive things like neglect cause grief, abandonment causes grief, all these things that are attachments. We're attached to parents that somehow can't show up for us. Maybe they're not showing up for themselves. Who knows? It's not my place to judge. It's not anyone's place to judge. We can only be with ourselves. But it's so important in this world with so much grief that we acknowledge it and we go, hi, we see you. The Buddha, he said, he said, Maya, I see you. Well, what if all that Maya, all of it, say if it just think about it for a minute. Imagine if that too was grief. That too was all the things we were attached to emotionally in some way, that we were grieving. Loss upon loss upon loss, change upon change, change and loss and bereavement, everything stacking up until boom. There you are today. Like not wondering what's going on, head up your arse, running on autopilot, not sure how to function, really kind of worried about making connections in this world because in your experience, people have let you down, people have shit on you. You know, we are the product, whilst we're running off our subconscious, we are the product of everything that we've ever gone through. And we're not victims. We don't have to be victims of that circumstance or karma. What we can be is have our power back and take control of our lives by just simply being conscious. You know, it just means that we're raising our awareness of how we feel. We're being more open about how we feel with ourselves. You know, you don't have to invite everyone round and throw a pity party. You don't have to all sit together and complain, although that can be really healthy to do so in a set, controlled environment. But when we complain, the law of universal cause and effect means that what we complain about we'll get more of. So it's more of an acknowledgement of what is, of our experiences, and just letting it have the air to breathe so that we can meet ourselves with that love and compassion that we deserve. That we're so hard on ourselves. We're so fucking cruel to other people. We're so separate. We're so divided. We like to think that we're right because for us we are. But maybe when we question what we're right about, we find out there's other rights as well, and there's other directions. And like Ram Dass said, I'd rather be free than right. So you can get all caught up about something and put all your energy into that. And that means you neglect yourself. It means you're just giving your energy away. Well, fuck that shit. It's totally not where I'm at right now. I'm not at living for other people. I'm not at doing anything other than being with myself. Yeah, and holding space for others, abso-fucking-lutely. That makes my heart sing. It makes my heart sing that I've been able to work on myself so much that I can be there for others. But I'm not there to enable people to do stuff. I'm not there to carry the weight for them. I'm there as a presence to love, to be, and to hold and to guide if they want. I'm there to just simply help you not be alone so much on the journey. It's not my karma, it's not my job, it's not my place to fix, change or enable you. I'm not going to chase you about or anything like that. No, I'm not in it for any other reason than I want to live in a way that makes my heart sing, that serves humanity, that serves the highest good, that serves the planet. And the only way that I can truly do that is to sit with me, myself and my grief, to sit with myself and sit with my studies, to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep evolving so that I can heal more on a deeper level, so I can help others heal on a deeper level too, if they want to. It's a choice. We can choose to feel that we're victims and really feel sorry for ourselves and blame the world and resent the world for being shortchanged at some stage, some way. Or we can say, do you know what? This stuff has happened and it really, really sucks that it has happened. And I'm growing and I can't change what's happened. No one can change what's happened. What we can change is our relationship to whatever it was. We can look at our emotions and how we're still attached to it. What do we need to do to learn to grow, to not so much let go, because letting go is kind of dismissive, but let be, just sitting with, just allowing. And when I hold space for someone and we sit and they just be and I just be and we're just being together, beautiful things happen. Life happens, love happens, pain happens, tears happen. But it's all fucking beautiful. It's so amazingly beautiful. The power that we have as human beings, regardless of all our certifications and training and who we think we are and who the world tells us who we should be. And you put all that to one side and you just sit in presence without reacting, without taking it personally. Magic happens. Total magic happens, and in that time and in that space of magic, we can birth a whole new world into being. So I've written a book. It's out now as an ebook. It'll be out soon in paperback and that. I'm just tweaking it up. I'm on to another book now because I want to share my story of my life and my grief, because I'm not the only person on the planet. There is so many people who will resonate with pretty much most of the stories in my book. And they show you where the grief is. The story acknowledges where the grief is in the different situations, and when we acknowledge where the grief lies and we give it space and room, the grief comes to the surface, and then it, like the tide, it just goes away. At first it comes back and comes back and comes back, and eventually it just goes off out to sea, that great sea of consciousness where that original all-encompassing overwhelming tsunami took us. It's then back out to where it's just a speck, just a drop of water in an ocean of water. It's just another thought in a sea of thoughts, where we don't have the same reactivity as when it was first throwing itself up at us, wanting to be taken care of. So I'm going to see where this takes me. And things with me always grows and changes and evolves. You'll never get the same thing twice, really. I still intend to have my project here, Creative Roots. I love this land, I love the animals, I love this way of life. I'm still totally open to people coming and volunteering and sharing space. I'm going to dedicate more time to people who want to sit with the grief. I'm going to look at opening the space for grief circles and for art therapies and ways in which we can allow ourselves to process our grief in a healthy way. So I really look forward to making another video, and please feel free to subscribe to keep up to date with information and inspiration, and do follow me, do reach out, send a message, check out the website, come on down and have a cup of tea and we'll talk about stuff together. Life is what you make it. You have the power in you to create wonderful things, amazing things, things that you never thought were even fucking possible. You have that power. You can do this. I really look forward to sharing more time and space with you, and I send you so much love, so much love. You take care, and I'll see you soon.